Because, Mike, I have an important question for you, man.
Oh boy.
Do you believe the Earth is flat?
I don't know what
You
to
don't,
believe.
huh?
There's
I
just
mean,
so much information out there that I don't know what to believe anymore.
come on, bro. Like when you're on a plane, it's flat, bro. When you're up there, you don't see a round thing, And then like the pictures that people take up there, it's just by a fish lens, It's not flat.
I mean, all you see is horizon, right?
It's just flat out there, man. And then all the pictures are just auto AI generated too, like the sun, like the moon landing was fake.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a lot of things out there that someone's lying out there, man. But who knows?
Do you really believe that, or are you just trolling me right now?
I'm just joking, man.
All right, thank God. Thank God.
So we're getting into the topic today.
Let's get into a customary sip of water to get us started off.
All right, I'm gonna join you.
Cool. So, what's going on, everyone? Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of the Unracked podcast. We're helping gym rats of all levels to enhance their fitness and other aspects of their life through conversation and firsthand experience. We're your hosts. I'm Mike Gersh.
And I'm Josh Angel.
In our last episode, we started off by talking about what not to do when you're getting started in the gym. And in today's episode, Natural Progression, I feel like we want to discuss the importance of understanding and tracking your nutrition to be able to achieve your goals in a healthy and sustainable way.
Mm-hmm.
So in order for it to be the healthiest and most sustainable way possible, I feel like what's most important here is actually understanding all three of the macronutrients and how they affect your body.
Yeah. And the crazy thing about macros too is once you can understand this, and you could pretty much hack your way. This is like a hack to the matrix right here. With your body, dude.
This is the sauce right here.
Yeah, this is gonna be the most sauce you're gonna get on the podcast, possibly. Like honestly, I don't know if we're gonna top this, dude. This is gonna be a good episode, though. It's gonna be a great episode.
We might have to change the name to the Sauce Cast.
Sure, there's isn't that a real podcast or?
Oh, is it?
It sounds kind of like it. It's too catchy.
I have no idea, to be honest, but
I don't know.
If it's not, we can steal it. No, I like Unracked.
No, Unracked, classic, bro. Yeah, it's a good name.
So just to dive into it, the big three macros: carbs, proteins, fats.
Mm-hmm.
Just to start out, I feel like carbs is naturally a great place to start out because people obviously have very mixed feelings about carbs, right?
Yeah, a lot of mixed feelings, dude. Carbs are definitely unnecessary in some cases.
It depends who you ask.
Only the top G's can handle it. Well, just eating fats and protein. But we'll get into there. We won't jump the gun too fast.
Yeah, you got to be a special kind of someone.
Yeah, you got to be him.
Him. But with that, a lot of what I know, anecdotally, of course, carbs equal performance.
Mm-hmm.
But I also got a lot of knowledge on more of the scientific side of things. I'm not going to bore you all with super complex definitions and things like that. But what I want you to understand is essentially carbs get digested into glucose. Your brain, your central nervous system, red blood cells, this is their main source of energy. Mm-hmm. So you're going to get an instant source of energy when you intake carbs. So that's for me, for example, as a power lifter, where my goal is as much output using as little energy as possible, that's why I always have a Rice Krispie treat or something that I know I can quickly turn into energy from that carb source. It's also going to give you more long-term energy, where it's storing that glucose in your liver and your muscles, for example. The easiest way to think about this, probably that athlete. I used to play basketball. I used to have a big pasta dinner the night before I had a game because my body would be able to digest those carbs and hold on to them in my liver and muscles, and then I would have good energy that day for the game without the feeling of being like super bloated from just eating a high carb dinner going into the game where I was going to be running around a lot.
Yeah, and that's a simple carb, and then we're gonna get into what are simple carbs and complex carbs in a second. I don't want to jump the gun too fast again, but each person is just person to person because like some people can't handle pasta, it spikes their glucose too much or their sugar levels too much. But it's just some people just can't handle it.
Or
or they
you're
get
just
too bloated.
genetically superior and are celiac.
Nah, man, it's not like that. If you're superior, you can handle it without it.
If you say so.
Yeah. So
the only other thing, quickly, the only other thing about carbs, typically, this is where you're going to find a lot of fiber in your diet.
Mhm.
Most people are severely lacking fiber.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's a study too about that. Like typical American person is like under like 20 grams, and that's like the recommendation. I think it's like around 10 grams.
Yeah.
The average American, like every day. So once you get to actually eating a lot more fiber, you're gonna feel super bloated and kind of weird. You might be using the bathroom too much too at the beginning, but your body gets used to it after a while. You can never have too much fiber actually. You just get kind of more bloated, but yeah.
Exactly, but it is very much going to help you with digestion,
Definitely.
First and foremost. So that's something, it's going to get things moving,
Yeah.
we'll say. And it's going to help you feel fuller because it's a little more calorically dense. So that's something that when you eat it, it's going to be stored, right? So you're not really going to be craving as hard later on because you're going to be full on that fiber.
Yeah. And not gonna lie, the average American needs to flush out their system with fiber.
People put a lot of shit into their bodies.
Literally.
That's why I emphasized it.
No, it is like definitely a main component if your goal is to lose weight. I mean, it's just good on a healthy diet normally, but more important if you're trying to lose weight.
Well, even
because like you said, you feel fuller, your digestive system's going through faster. You're drinking more water because you're gonna be more thirsty also. So it's just overall more of a benefit.
Definitely, and even on a bulk, my digestion personally is so much better on a cut than when I'm on a bulk, because when I'm on a bulk, I'm not as concerned about, I shouldn't say I'm not as concerned about the quality of food, but I'm eating foods that are going to be higher calories just to be in a surplus. Therefore, it's going to be more processed foods and things like that are going to affect my digestion negatively. So then that's when I work in things like granola and oatmeal, for example, that are going to be high in fiber to help with that digestion.
I mean, you got more wiggle room too, because like some people like me, like when I'm not doing keto or like right now I'm actually on more of a low carb diet, so I'm having some. Mostly I'm just eating potatoes, but when I eat like a flour tortilla, dude, that thing just messes up my whole diet. Like, because a lot of carbs too have high in calories, so that's why it's perfect for bulking, because you can hit your calorie surplus like almost like nothing.
It goes hand in hand.
Yeah, but if you're cutting, you really need to cut your carbs down low because you can accidentally go too high by accident. So what's should we get back into talking about simple carbs now?
Yeah, and so like with that in mind, one point we want to get across that Josh is going to talk in a little more detail is not all carbs are created equally.
Exactly. Each carb is different, and then this is why you need to kind of track what you're eating so then you know what's good for you and what's not good for you. Because like Mike was saying, people do better. You were doing better with a pasta meal the night before. Some people will get destroyed eating a pasta meal the night before, and then they might be more tired. Their insulin might spike too much, which will give them lower energy later on in the day. So, like let me get it into simple carbs. So simple carbs are kind of like these pasta, rice, oatmeal, bread. This could be even cereal. It's kind of like more the bad carbs, quote unquote.
So anything that would murder me as a person with celiac, pretty much.
Yeah, and you're not alone because it murders me too, like really bad, having some simple carbs. And they're delicious too. But the problem is because they have so much sugar in them too. But they're easier to digest, so that's why Mike is doing so great eating that, like a Rice Krispie treat. That's a simple carb right there. And then these are typically they contain sweetener and they raise your glucose levels higher. But they give you instant energy at that moment. So that's like a good 101 on the simple carbs. And now the complex carbs are like the healthier carbs, quote unquote. Again, no, they're actually more healthier. These are more like the these are more like the vegetables. Sorry, I'm getting too intense in this conversation. We're talking about carbs here. So this is more like the good vegetables, potatoes, kind of more natural grown, I guess. Like there's things you could just find in the ground.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I think the only thing I'm leaving out is like chicken beans. I think beans are mixed in there too as complex carbs, and then these actually take more time to digest. They have less starch, they have less sweets. I mean, like they're not made out of sugar, so these are gonna digest better, and they have actually more fiber because vegetables have fiber in them too. So this will also make you feel more satiated, and this goes back to where I'm gonna say like you kind of need to see which one works better for you. Me personally, complex carbs work a lot better for me. They digest a lot faster for me, and I feel like I have more energy to go out the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm also not going past. This is great because I'm cutting, so I'm not also going past my calories by accident. Because if I eat like more complex, simple carbs, sorry, I'm gonna go past my calories like nothing.
For sure. So so which one's the vegetables, the complex?
Yeah, I know. It's like I feel like there should be vice versa, but the simple carbs are
Because I
like the
feel like
bad ones.
it's easier to think about the simple thing to eat is vegetables.
Yeah.
But it's obviously flipped. So
But I guess you could say like simple as in it digests faster. I guess you can kind of think it like that if you want to think. I know it's like I don't know why they did it like that. Honestly, I feel like it could be vice versa. So,
yeah. But for me personally, I do feel like I'm looking at like the picture you have up. So the complex carbs more of like the fruits and vegetables. I do feel like personally the more complex carbs I have in my diet, just like the overall better strength, muscle growth, digestion, just overall everything is moving a lot better. With the simple carbs, with like bread and pasta, is rice one?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so I could never live without rice, but
this is why I was trying to. I was actually telling Mike earlier that rice kind of messes me up and it kind of gets me bloated too. But on the other hand, I like it too, man. I'm not gonna lie, I fucking like that shit, dude. Especially with sushi, like it's just a like awesome
it's
combo,
so good.
dude.
Yeah.
But dude, after I have sushi, dude, I'm like done for the day, dude. I'm bloated to the max. But if I have potatoes, I can eat almost as much potatoes as I want, and I'm good for the day. And then you're hitting your carbs too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not hard to hit your carbs just eating potatoes.
Well, I'm Irish, so I'm like 75% potato already.
Yeah, you're just born potato.
So should I just take a chomp out of my hand?
Yeah.
Should I track that? Where's my fitness pal?
Yeah, you can probably just munch on your brother too.
For real. Throw Marty on the grill real quick.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, with grill,
you have anything else you want to add there, or you think we did carbs pretty well?
No, I think we're good on carbs. Again, just think of it like energy is going to be the main factor for carbs. I would say fats can also transition or be digested into energy, but they're more stored energy, where carbs can be instant or stored. Fat is more stored energy because it's used a lot for insulation. The main goal of the insulation is to protect your organs.
Yeah.
And then we, as fat, lazy Americans, have clearly overdone that. And with like, what'd you say, 40% of the population is obese?
Yeah,
that's a little too much insulation there.
Yeah.
But
mean, that's also goes on to like why girls hold more fat, because it's to protect their child for like through winter time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just genetically, there are differences in the male and female makeup. With something like that, exactly like Josh said, females typically hold more fat for that exact reason, for the protection, the insulation if they are pregnant, to protect the unborn child. Um, so fats essentially get broken down into fatty acids and glycerol. So anyone who is a little bit more of an advanced gym bro, you may recognize the term glycerol. A lot of supplement companies actually will put either a separate glycerol product because they want you to spend more money, or they'll put it in their pre-workout because it's like directly linked to getting better pumps.
And I'm not gonna lie, I've been doing a lot of glycerol in my pumps, in
Yeah?
my workouts. Yeah. But right now, because I need to look into this because I think it messes up your ketosis. So I haven't been. I need to do more research on this because I don't want to mess up my ketosis. So right now I'm not in ketosis, so I've just been taking it.
You might need to know that.
Yeah.
Um, but essentially, with that, that's why if you ever notice, you'd probably notice it more if you're on a cut and you have like a cheat day or a refeed day where in your macro plan you never have burgers and you love burgers. And so on your cheat day, you have a burger pretty high in fat, dairy pretty high in fat. That next day, you go to the gym, you're going to have a fucking unreal workout because you're just getting all that stored energy and all that glycerol built up naturally through the food that you consumed, that it's going to carry over into that workout the next day. So a lot of people don't realize that's what's happening, but they get like a sick pump or a great workout, hit a PR or something, and they don't equate the two together because they just had a super fatty cheeseburger that ended up digesting into glycerol, directly affecting that performance.
Well, I mean, this goes into why we're even making this video is because a lot of people don't know this stuff about macros and stuff like that. But yeah, glycerol, if you just take it separate, you're gonna feel a lot stronger too in the gym on your own. Yeah.
For sure. And again, that's why a lot of supplement companies either put it in their pre-workout or sell it separate to make more money off you.
Yeah.
The only other thing about fats that I wanted to quickly go over, with the idea of fats being digested into reserve energy, so they are absolutely plan Z when it comes to, it's the last resort of energy that your body wants to use. The only time you're really gonna dig into the stored energy you have that you digested through fat is if you're in a very extreme scenario. Take, for example, someone who is like lost in the woods. They can't really fend for themselves. They can't make food. You can survive on your own body fat for about 30 days. I think you would need water
Yeah,
before
just
that.
water. Yeah.
But the average human can survive on their own body fat for 30 days. So the body isn't going to dig into that reserve until it absolutely has to. Essentially, when you're intaking fewer calories than you're burning. So again, if you're lost in the woods and you're not like a outdoorsy person, the chances of you finding significant amount of calories to intake pretty slim, but your body isn't going to randomly stop burning calories. It'll learn to survive on less, but it's not going to stop burning.
Yeah, exactly. Your body will adapt to it, but if you're out in the woods, you're gonna use up all your fats eventually.
Exactly.
But if you're out here, normal scenario, you're gonna have to up the workouts, maybe diet a little bit harder, work out harder. Either or.
And so the main point to convey about fats, before we get into the last one of protein, fats are necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I made the mistake the first time I cut because, as we've talked about, I was always skinny. I was on a forever bulk. I was just excited to be able to have body fat to cut, right? So I did it wrong.
Yeah.
I was on like the lowest possible fat diet that I could be on. I was tired. I was cloudy. I was cranky. It was not good. So again, learning through this firsthand experience, through training clients of my own, things like that, I've learned that, like I said, fats are necessary. Just depending on what phase you're in, again, bulk, maintenance, cut, that's what's going to determine how much fat you want to consume on a daily basis. Because again, if you're on a bulk like me, I don't necessarily care as much about saturated fat, trans fat, things like that, processed foods. I'm just intaking it for the calories. For me, the calories are the means to the end, where if I was on a cut, the fats are the means to the end, because I still want to intake fats, but I want to cut that number down. I want to cut my number of carbs down so my body reacts in a way where it's going to start cutting body fat to be able to keep up with my lower caloric intake.
Mm-hmm. So this is why I think, well, fats we're gonna get into it, but like fats have a lot of benefits to it,
Mm-hmm.
and you do need fats to like kind of just function almost.
Healthy fats.
Yeah, healthy fats. But this is why there's a keto diet, but not a carb diet. You know?
Oh, got him.
Drop the mic. I'm out.
He's dropping the mic, so I'll get into the next
Yeah.
macronutrient is protein. Protein, most important macronutrient for whatever level of gym rat you're in, or
Maybe a normal scenario. Yeah. Every person should just have a high protein diet.
For sure. So, as a gym rat, the thing you'll probably focus on the most about protein is the fact that it helps build and repair muscle tissue through protein synthesis. So, in the simplest terms possible, when you consume protein, it's digested into amino acids. There are 20 amino acids, 9 of them are essential. You can't find them all in like a protein supplement, for example. Some of them are only available through Whole Foods.
And that's why it's called a supplement and not like a real meal plan.
Exactly. Whole Foods
Yeah.
versus supplement.
Yeah.
That's the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, the importance of eating protein through Whole Foods. You're breaking your muscles down, and protein is the main building block that's going to rebuild your muscles. It's going to grow your tissues to be bigger so you can handle more intense loads. So for something like that, protein does a lot of other things as well. It helps with pH acidity balance in your body. It helps create enzymes and hormones to complete natural everyday bodily functions. I know last episode we talked a lot about collagen protein.
Yeah.
That helps promote healthy joints, skin, nails, hair.
Yeah.
For example, so there's a lot of benefits to protein outside of working out.
You know, and I want to add, might be a little anecdotal, but I noticed, well, we're going to get to this later too, but I done an only protein diet, and the first episode I told you guys I did a vegan diet. I actually felt better just doing only protein instead of doing vegan, because vegan, it's really harder to hit your proteins. It's possible, but it's rough too. And I honestly felt a lot better just eating protein on like just meats. Pretty much just I was only eating meats, having a protein shake. I felt better doing that than just having being on the vegan diet, which is kind of nuts to me. But yeah, protein is like one of those things you necessarily need every day. Definitely not good to go on a low protein diet, because you're also you might eat more carbs, and you might eat more unhealthy carbs. This is another reason why more people are fat also.
And I tell all my clients, again, especially anyone newer to the gym, when we go over macros and I help calculate their daily intake for carbs, protein, fats, and their daily caloric intake is all going to tie together, I tell them 100% of the time, if you do nothing else, hit your protein goal, and as a newbie, you will continue to see gains.
Definitely. I say the same thing.
You will plateau eventually, obviously, and then you have other variables that you can work with. But when you're new in the gym, protein is going to be the number one most important macronutrient for you to hit that goal daily. And it is also, surprise, surprise, the number one most underconsumed macronutrient by people in America, I'm sure, I would assume around the world.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the thing is too, like places where you buy food, like protein is served less. I believe it's because protein is more expensive in
Mhm.
general too. So people are restaurants stuff like that are trying to get away with giving you less protein. Like Chipotle, for example, I always do the double scoop, but even though it costs more, you know what I mean?
Should I
And
share the Chipotle hack?
Oh, I don't know. That's some sauce, dude.
That is some sauce. All right, I gotta give it to him though. So,
Yeah.
Chipotle hack: when you go to Chipotle and you order double meat, never just order double meat. You have to go in the line. You say, "Can I have chicken?" You wait for them to do the first scoop of chicken,
Yeah.
and then you say, "Oh, actually, can I have double meat?" And I guarantee you, 110% of the time, you will get 2 fat scoops instead of 1.5
Facts, bro.
if you
Facts.
said double
See,
meat
this is
off the bat.
why the viewers here need to like the fucking video, dude. We're giving them the sauce right
This
now.
is the sauce right now.
Yeah.
We're cooking.
Yeah, but no, on the real though, I've done because on Chipotle they actually have a nutrition calculator on there, and you can actually just put like what you're gonna get, and then you could put like the serving amount, like oh, you get a double scoop of the chicken. Having a normal scoop of chicken doesn't even come like I need to have 2 scoops of chicken to even reach my protein goal, and even then I have to like do other stuff to even reach there. It's still not like enough with the double scoop protein.
For sure.
Yeah.
And even it was the kind of thing for me too. As I've mentioned before, I'm 5 weeks out from a meet. So this is the most
5 weeks out, 2 minutes and 59 seconds.
Yeah. So this is the most like strict I've been about being on a diet. I've never had like a diet leading up to something for me to not fall off my diet, right? So I always had an excuse of it didn't really matter. So this is the first time where I have no excuse to fall off, right? I barely go out to eat anymore because of exactly what you're saying. When you go to a restaurant, I'm never going to ever get a reasonable amount of food on that plate for me to be able to know, okay, even if I track this, I'm going to hit my protein goal from this meal. I'm going to hit my calorie goal from this meal. So I barely go out to eat
Yeah.
at this point because I know it's just not going to get me closer to my goals.
Well, for me, I go to either just to Chipotle or Panda Express because then I just grab my scale. I fucking just weigh that at home, dude. I don't care. You know, I just put it on the different plate, weigh, and then the macro track. MyFitnessPal can track it as close as possible.
Yep.
And
even a lot of those like bigger restaurants like Chipotle, I'll use the example of Jersey Mike's because the giant subs are literally 2,200 calories. So I eat those all the time if I'm like behind calories. On MyFitnessPal and stuff like that, it should, I'm not going to guarantee that it does, but it should have like some presets for those like bigger companies like Chipotle.
Yeah. Even no, Chipotle, no, what I have to do is I have to actually make my own. But you know, you can go on their website. All those chains have like a nutrition fact,
Mhm.
and then on MyFitnessPal, some of them do have it preset, but then you can go and create your own meals, and then you can just preset all of the protein, calories, all that stuff.
Oh, you just save the data that you input to be able to
Yeah, you can
say-
actually create a meal on there, and then you can save it for the future. So you don't have to do it once. And I recommend just eating the same thing, honestly. So you have to keep doing it, or you have to keep making new meals every time.
I mean, if you're on a serious diet, you'll most likely be repeating meals pretty
Yeah.
consistently anyways. So
And you can honestly get big just eating Panda and Chipotle. Not gonna lie, people have done it. Like a few YouTubers have actually done an experiment to eat just Chipotle and stuff like that.
that just makes me think of there was a documentary when I was in high school. It's called Super Size Me.
Oh yeah, that's a
Where the
classic.
guy went to McDonald's and if they asked if he wanted his fries supersized, he always had to say yes. Within like 30 days, he gained I don't know the number, so I'm not going to put a number on it, but he gained a
was
bunch of
horrible.
weight. His cholesterol was through the roof. His body fat was just disgusting. Like he went from like average build to like literally obese.
You know
in
what?
30 days.
You know what's crazy too? I'm not sure if you saw. I didn't even know they had this. There's like a bonus feature when you get the movie. I noticed this when I was in high school. I saw that movie when I was like in middle school. But you go to the bonus feature. He actually has like an extra part where he has all the foods lined up, and he bought like like let's say he bought like McDonald's fries, he bought fries from like other restaurants, and he let it just sit out and wanted to see what would happen. And he got a burger too.
Oh, like he
like
didn't eat it though.
no. He
Oh
just
my god.
I know I saw your face. I'm like, why are you making that face, bro?
It's still gross, but not as gross.
Yeah, he just wanted to see what it would happen just leaving it out there. And all the McDonald's stuff was looking almost kind of new. Like everything else, like he bought stuff like off the street, like other chains. All that stuff got rotten, got mold. But all the McDonald's stuff kind of stayed normal.
So that's how you know that the other stuff is at least
Like it's processed as hell. Like all the
Yeah.
McDonald's, yeah, like all the actual like good food, I guess real made food, not like a factory made type of thing, actually molded and got rotten.
Oh, real food should have an expiration date, yes.
Yeah, exactly. But like they got rotten way faster than all the McDonald's stuff. McDonald's was last on everything.
That's why if you're ever in like the nuclear bunker,
Yeah.
all the food is like super crazy processed, so it
Oh yeah, canned food, stuff like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
That just that just makes me think of the meme of Larry Wheels. He's just like housing some food, and it's like nobody in the nuclear bunker knows I'm on a bulk.
Yeah, we really got off track there, but I think that was good.
But Larry Wheels is definitely someone who hits his protein goal on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to add about protein?
No, that's it. I mean, you gotta hit your protein. There's not really much to talk about protein. It's kind of simple.
For sure. So the next thing, and we're not gonna give you the whole kitchen here. All right. We're not gonna calculate your macros for you right now.
Mm-hmm.
You can DM us on Instagram at liftlikeMike3 or at recklessjosh_ if you want some more information about calculating your macros. But we want to give you a couple general rules of thumbs that we share with all of our clients.
Mm-hmm. So we're gonna get into tracking your maintenance calories, correct?
Exactly. So the importance of it.
Yeah. So good rule of thumb is to just go by, you want to times your body weight by 15, and then that should give you a ballpark of your maintenance. But then afterwards you want to kind of go throughout the week, track your weight every morning. I recommend tracking it right when you wake up, even take a dump afterwards. Beforehand.
Nah, take a dump before.
Yeah,
Always
beforehand to really get an accurate number. And then if you stay on that number for 2 weeks and you see nothing, no weight gain or whatever, that should be your maintenance calories. And then from there you can just either add 200 or minus 200 depending on your goals. You want to subtract it if you're cutting, and then you want to add if you're bulking.
So I 100% agree with what Josh is saying, and this is something that I communicate to all of my clients. And this is something that it doesn't actually, to me, matter what level of gym rat you are, because I have clients who are completely new and have never tracked macros a day in their life. I have clients who were tracking their own macros and thought they were doing it right. I have clients who are working with other coaches and they kind of communicated some of that process of tracking the macros. So, long story short, first and foremost, everyone is going to be different. So when Josh gives you a general rule of thumb, your body weight times 15, there are a lot more complicated equations out there that are going to take your age, your height, your daily caloric expenditure. It's going to take all of that into account and be able to give you a closer ballpark number, but it's still not going to be able to give you that exact number. And what I say to all of my clients is, we want to calculate your true maintenance. I make sure to emphasize true maintenance, right? Because we take those 2 weeks, like Josh said, that's very useful data for us to know, okay, my body weight times 15 was this many calories, but I only ate this many and my weight didn't change, right? So most people, as we talked about, when they first start working out, their weight's not going to change. So they think they're in maintenance because they're losing fat and gaining muscle. As we talked about, muscle weighs more than fat. Therefore, the scale stays pretty even when you first start working out. So that's why tracking your calories is so important. Because again, if you're building muscle and shredding fat, we know that the exercises are working. We know you're not eating complete garbage, but that doesn't mean there's a specific food that doesn't sit well with you, like Josh mentioned with rice, right? Like if Josh didn't track his macros and like intuitively eat, he never would have known that rice makes him bloated and he should avoid it if possible,
Yeah.
for example.
And then if you're mixing a bunch of different ingredients, like I mean, like if you're having a lot of different meals that have carbs and all that stuff, you get kind of confused, and you're like, "Oh wait, was it like the granola that got me kind of bloated? Was it the rice that got me bloated, or the oatmeal?" It's like you're kind of just like switching back and forth. You gotta have like a meal plan, honestly, and then stick to it daily. So you can kind of test it out for like a week. Okay, this ingredient doesn't work, take it out, add something else in, and then keep going.
Exactly. And that's actually something that firsthand happened to me when I found out I was celiac. When I figured out I was celiac, essentially at first I thought I was lactose intolerant. So I cut cheese out of my diet. I fucking love ice cream, and I cut ice cream out of my diet. All this stuff, I was getting dairy-free substitutes to everything, and I still wasn't feeling better. So the process of elimination is all trial and error, because it came to the point where I was still not feeling well while I cut dairy out. So I realized it had to be something else. Long story short, a peanut butter jelly sandwich almost put me in an early grave, and I was like, maybe it's the bread.
Yeah. See, like things like that is where you need to figure it out and test it for yourself. Or, you get someone else to help you out with this. Like how we were saying, you can get someone to coach, and then they can you can tell them like, oh, what you're allergic to and stuff like that, and then they'll test it out, and then they'll track it for you, and then they'll be like, okay, you're telling me this makes you bloated? Okay, we'll take this out, and then add something else in.
Exactly. And to touch upon the point of sustainability, this is something, and this is just personally how I do it. Josh could do it different. Other coaches could do it different. I have all of my clients track their own macros. I have some that I've put together like very specific meal plans for, like eat 100 grams of this and 200 grams of that. For anyone who's just like has me calculate their macros, I have them track it because it's a lot more helpful for them to be able to see, oh, this food that I always ate that I thought was healthy actually has a ton of fat in it and I never realized it. So it's a lot of like the firsthand experiences that we share. I'm able to guide my clients down that path to get those experiences themselves, but I'm still having them send me your daily weight check-in, send me your daily caloric intake and things like that. So my expertise can then come into play, and I can say, hey, your calories were a little high this week. Let's drop it down 150 and see what happens. And then it's all intuitive, right? Everything changes so quickly when it comes to calculating your macros that honestly, depending on what your goals are, I would recommend recalculating your maintenance calories. I would say every 3 to 6 months.
Mm-hmm. That's a good rule of thumb. Or you can, I like you said, it's different person to person. For me, I notice like right away, like, okay, it's catching up to me. I gotta either like kind of have like a refeed day, or I need to cut it down lower, depending where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to cut my calories too low now, too, where I'm like gonna kill myself. But
just malnourished.
Yeah, exactly. Like it is all about keeping a diet where you're comfortable and you can keep with it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be on some crazy diet where like you want to quit like every day. You definitely want to keep it fun. And then back to what Mike was saying too about tracking it every day. I think every person should track it to have a good habit. Because I don't know, for me, this is like different between everybody. I don't expect someone to be with me for so long. Like I expect them just to be on their own. I don't expect someone.
Yeah, they should grow their own wings and fly away at some point. That's my goal. If that's not an option down the road, then I'm not doing my job well enough.
Yeah, they gotta fly out the nest eventually. So I mean, it's cool if they stay longer, but they can go whenever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But quick question to touch upon something you said.
Mhm.
What is the best kind of diet?
A diet that fits you and then you can sustain.
Let's go. You got it. The
Yeah.
diet that you're gonna stick to.
Yeah. But I think the keto diet is like overall, king still. But this is a general, subject. It's king.
But so with that, again, it is all so intuitive. It's all changing, right? And the reason that it changes so quickly is because your metabolism is actually adapting to whatever your caloric intake is. So if you're on a cut, your body is going to slowly adapt to be able to function on less calories. When you're on a bulk, your body is going to be able to function and place more calories because you're in a surplus. And then that's when you're going to use more protein synthesis to build up your muscles, as opposed to when you're in a cut, the protein is to maintain your muscles and then the low fat is to burn the fat. So again, it's something that your metabolism is always changing. You can actually train your metabolism over time.
Mhm.
And that's what a lot of people who have been in this game for a long time, they actually do that. Like for me, as someone who has a very fast metabolism, I've personally not yet had any success in slowing it down, but at the same time, I don't really want to. It's only annoying to gain weight, but long term, I don't want to slow down my metabolism because I know for me, it's going to make staying lean long term a lot easier for me. So it's
Yeah.
not something I ever really committed to slowing my metabolism down.
Yeah.
But
And
you can train it.
the way to find out where your metabolism is at is you want to either go to like an in-person body scan, or you can, I don't know how accurate this is, but you could buy a scale on Amazon and it can track your body fat percentage and then your calorie expenditure too. Um, that it, pretty much this calorie is what it takes for your body to even survive, because let's say you're bedridden, you can't even move a muscle,
Mm-hmm.
it still takes calories to keep your body alive,
But just
so
a lot less than someone who's very active.
yeah. But then this can give you a kind of like an average, or like you kind of know an idea, like okay, my metabolism is right here. It might be low, like if your metabolism, it says like 3,000, that's really high. If it's lower than 2,000, it's kind of normal, kind of low on the low end. So that's how you can know where you're at.
Exact. And again, it's so different for everyone
Yeah,
because
someone can be like I said.
I think 2,000 calories is the average recommended daily intake by whatever it is.
The CDC, I think, or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's the CDC. But that's the kind of thing where I have a client who I can think of off the top of my head. Her maintenance calories are 1,600. So for her, going all that time thinking that 2,000 calories was what she should be shooting for, she was obviously overeating
Yeah.
by 400 calories a day, which is a significant surplus, which is going to, and without working out, is just going to put body fat on.
Yeah.
Which is, again, misinformation is half the battle as to why so many people in America are obese.
This is a good kind of food for thought. Is like there's so much information too out there that you also don't know which one to pick from. There's like too many apples in the tree. Like, oh, okay, which one's better? Is
All
this
about
one
that
rotten?
Granny Smith, baby.
Yeah, like you gotta you gotta examine the apples to know where your information's coming from. Come on, bro, we're trying to get serious here. No, that was a good joke though.
But even with that, even with everything being so ever changing, life typically comes first for most people, unless like you're a professional bodybuilder, then fitness is your life, right? But for most people, life is going to come first. Their job is going to come first. If they have to go to like their kid's soccer game or something, I don't fucking know. But typically, people are going to be busy, and that's why a lot of people aren't able to stick to a diet. But what I always try to communicate to my clients is consistency is key, right? So if you go an entire week and you mess up your calorie goal one day of that week, it is not the end of the world, right? If you go an entire month and you have a bad week, it's not the end of the world. You want to win the majority of the time. Yeah, that one bad week may slow down your progress, but it's not going to completely halt it to the point where you should just completely give up and never go to the gym again and start eating bags of chips to the head. So it's the kind of thing where a lot of people get in that mindset of, oh, I missed the gym one day, or oh, I overate one day. They kind of give themselves the excuse or the out of, oh, I did it once, then what's the harm in doing it again?
Yeah, and this can go also to like kind of like a flexible diet where you can have like like a piece of chocolate as long as you're under your calories or whatever your goal. Everybody's macros are different, but depending on whatever your macros are, you can have like a little bit of snack. If it fits your macros, you can essentially kind of do it. I don't want to push the envelope too much depending on their goals, but everybody's different.
And again, everybody is going to be more serious and intense towards their goals depending on what their goal is, depending on how concrete it is. Like again, for example, myself, I have a meet on August 18th that I need to be ready for.
Yeah.
Someone else who's just training to be healthy, there's no real deadline to that.
I'm trying to get a six-pack for the beach, man.
But that makes me think of, have you seen the movie Dodgeball?
Yeah.
Do you know at the end when White Goodman, Ben Stiller, he gets off of his diet because they lost and he gets all like depressed and shit?
Yeah.
At the end when he's fat as fuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's got the titties.
He just has all the food in front of him, and it's like, that's what people think is going to happen. Like if you miss one day at the gym, where he's like,
that's how I feel, man.
Playing with his own tits and shit.
I feel like I have a big stomach if I miss one day, or I mess up my meals too. It's the body dysmorphia,
But on the other side, actually,
but it's not gonna happen. Yeah.
On the other side, actually, from that same movie, earlier in the movie, you talked about in our last episode over discipline. Do you remember earlier in the movie where he has the donut in front of him, but he has the electricity things on his nipples?
Yeah.
And if he reaches for the donut, he gets shot. Alright,
that was some mean discipline. Larry Rose actually did a video about that too. Or no, was it Larry Rose? I forgot. Some influencer did something like that. He was sniffing some like donuts and he was eating his like salads and stuff like that.
I feel like bodybuilders do that.
Yeah.
I know Marco, the jacked Italian, he did that. He was at I think
it's like a trend.
He was at like In-N-Out or something with his brother. Like they were on a trip to LA. He's from Texas. And he had his like chicken and rice meal prep, and his brother had like a fat In-N-Out burger. And he was like smelling the burger and eating his meal prep, smelling the burger, eating his meal prep. And it's like he was like pretty close to his show too, so it was like a super sad like 8 ounces of chicken, like 150 grams of rice, like no sauce on it at all. And like again, that is
boiled chicken.
That is like the super extreme side of dieting. Which kind of goes into the next thing is there's a couple different ways that people can kind of switch up their diet without being too drastic about it. So one of them is reverse dieting. I really just want to kind of make it known that it's out there, like acknowledge the fact that it exists. For most of the people listening to this,
a lot of people don't know that it's out there.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
The majority of the people this may not like resonate with, but there may be a couple who it does, so that's why I wanted to share it. Reverse dieting, and this one I'm gonna get a little scientific here, so bear with me as I read this. So reverse dieting, like I mentioned,
you lost me already.
It's only going to be like extreme circumstances. The main two that I've seen in my experience are going to be bodybuilding, as well as anyone that may have like an eating disorder. So it's adaptive thermogenesis, which is a protective mechanism that alters your body's metabolism during periods of restriction to decrease your energy expenditure in an effort to slow weight loss. So this is what I was essentially talking about earlier, for example, when we were talking about fats, um, like the person who was lost in the woods, the person who is intaking less calories than they're burning. Again, this is very extreme. So, reverse dieting aims to restore metabolic rates in order to minimize fat gain while increasing calorie intake after restriction. So, long story short, what this means, take a bodybuilder, for example. What they're talking about is calorie restriction, where they're on a very strict diet, they're in a crazy deficit, their body is learning to survive on this very low amount of food. They get to the show day, and then after the show day, they want to have a crazy cheat meal. And what they call a rebound is a lot of bodybuilders will end up gaining 30 pounds in 3 days. What reverse dieting means is slowly working calorie increases into your diet week by week, emphasis on slowly and gradually, so you don't go overboard in a surplus where your body is now used to this restriction that you were in for a 12 to 16 week prep. All I wanted to say about that. Anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, because I've actually done the reverse diet myself because like I was telling you guys earlier, I did like a protein only diet, which I think I forgot. Do not do that. You got to be a trained professional to do that. I was still a little tricky, but to do the reverse diet kind of correct, it's kind of different person to person because what I read too was that you have to do wherever you're from or wherever you start. Like I was like at about 1,000 calories, and then from there I did 250 and kind of build my way up week by week. But even then, I think 250 was a little bit too much. I feel like I should have done like 150 or 200. But I think that's the only way you're gonna gauge it is person to person.
Exactly.
Yeah. So maybe next time if I decide to do it again, which I kind of don't want to, but you see fast results though doing it.
But again, we're preaching sustainability.
Yeah, but it's like 1 week, 7 days. Man up.
So with that again, reverse dieting is the extreme side of it. Um, the less extreme, more beneficial, more sustainable side of it is going to be mini cuts, mini maintenance, mini bulk, whatever you want to call it. So this is something that again, your coach or your client, you're going to have a conversation about exactly how you want to handle this. Everyone's going to do it a little differently, and every situation is going to be a little different. But essentially, like we talked about, your metabolism, your body is going to adapt to whatever caloric, like average intake you're on, right? So it's typically going to be the average of a week. And it's the kind of thing where people plateau very easily when it comes to their metabolic rate. So, me, for example, being on a bulk, I work in mini cuts once a month or once every other month because essentially what happens is my body gets so used to operating on higher amounts of calorie intake that it pushes my maintenance calories higher. My maintenance calories are already super high. So it becomes near impossible for me to eat as much food as I need to consistently gain weight. So what I do is for 1 week, I'll go into either a week of maintenance, depending on, again, how severely you've plateaued or if you're able to catch it before you plateau. You either want to do maintenance or cut. Typically for me, I do it when I plateau, so I go into a cut, not maintenance. But I'll go into a cut for a week, and then when I come back after that week back onto a bulk, my body after that week is used to that lower average of caloric intake. That when I get back onto the bulk, I start getting back onto the making progress and gaining weight consistently again because my body is now used to lower calories and my surplus is more effective.
Yeah, yeah. And then for me, is for example, so this cut's been taking me a while to do. This is like another thing you could be doing to keep yourself from like getting used to it, your metabolism. I've been cutting for like 4 weeks, and then going into like a maintenance type of thing, and then also cutting my calories a little bit more down, but I don't want to cut it too much, or then I'm just gonna be like I end up at 18,000, 1,800, and then next thing you know I'm at 1,500. You don't want to keep doing it like that. So you want to keep it around like a good number where you're not too deep in a deficit,
Mhm.
and you also just want to keep tracking your maintenance and making sure you're at a good weight.
For sure. And
Yeah.
this is something that on a smaller scale also relates to like a cheat day, refeed day, right?
Yeah.
And this is something that I explain to my clients the difference between the two, at least from what I know. I don't know if everybody goes like this, so if you don't, then don't pay attention, I guess. But
Fast forward.
essentially, what I was taught is a cheat day is you eat whatever you want. A refeed day is still structured, where it may just be like a day of like a calorie surplus, or you're gonna go over your fat goal, or you're gonna go over your carb goal, but it's still healthy, whole foods, not as much processed, saturated trans fat.
Well, there's like a actually a math to how much you want to refeed. So you want to weigh yourself. I don't even honestly, it's in my notes. I don't recall the number, but I wouldn't even say it though because that's the sauce
Y'all gotta
too.
hit the DMs for that.
Yeah. So there's a certain equation that you want to times it by your body weight, and then that gives you your calories, and then from there you can just okay, I need to hit 2,000 something. You hit that for your refeed day, and then you go back to a deficit.
Exactly. And that's why typically you see a refeed more often in a bodybuilding prep as opposed to like a cheat day you would see in your everyday like health and wellness client.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, and then the only other thing when it comes to kind of different ways to get out of a plateau is novelty. So this is something that
Novelty.
it, it's relevant to diet. It's relevant to weightlifting. It's relevant to most things in life. Um, Again, it's something that I look at novelty as like a complete 180. So, what I mean by that is if you adapt over time to one specific kind of diet, like I mentioned, if you're on a strict diet, you'll probably repeat a lot of meals and eat a lot of the same things. So, say you're on diet A for a very long time. Again, you don't want to like flip the switch super quick and like pull the rug on yourself. You want to give yourself a gradual time to get into diet B, but diet B should be something completely different from what you were doing. With the example of Josh, you can talk a little bit about when you were powerlifting, you were on a bulk, you did the gradual maintenance, and then you got into where you're at now.
Yeah, I can speak a little bit on this because this can go on to any diet technically because like you said it's like the opposite end of a spectrum. You go in, it's like night and day difference. But so pretty much I had a lot of carbs doing my powerlifting meet. Pretty normal. Like I was in the calorie surplus also. Well, somewhat of a calorie surplus because I had to meet a certain weight goal, and I didn't want to. So once I got there, I was kind of just staying on maintenance.
Okay.
But I was still eating a lot more carbs, stuff like that. And then I did, like you said, a 180 and then going into a keto diet. But I also didn't do it right off the bat. I, like you said, went into maintenance and then slowly went down on my carbs ish. But then I kind of, what I do, sometimes I do better just kind of cold turkey also.
Mm-hmm.
So I also just was at 100 calories, 100 grams, sorry, of carbs, and then I just kind of cut it. I just stick to what you need to during keto. It's just vegetables, pretty much, for your carb source.
Exactly. And that's the kind of thing where, like we talked about earlier, carbs and powerlifting go hand in hand because they're directly correlated to instant as well as stored energy. And so when Josh's goal was no longer strength and output, and his goal switched to aesthetics, build muscle, cut fat, he's seen a lot of progress because of a lot of external variables that he's controlling, but also because his diet is so much different than what it was when he was powerlifting. that his body had to take time to adapt to it. And now that it's somewhat adapted, he's taken different measures to either avoid or break plateaus if he has been in them.
Yeah, and then this can also not even go for like me, for example, or you if you're overweight. Even I watched a few videos where bodybuilders say, or like actually a coach was saying like, oh, he was trying to get his bodybuilder clients down to a certain weight, and they just couldn't get the last piece of fat, so that he put them on a keto diet, just to get rid of that certain fat, which is like totally opposite, like you were saying, and then it'll help them break a plateau that they were at. It's just person to person, but
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Depending on what you want to do, what you're able to sustain, just go to whatever diet fits you better.
I feel like I should say bodybuilding is a very extreme sport. So not anytime, but most times we use bodybuilding as an example. It's probably like an extreme end of the spectrum that a lot of general gym goers won't fall into. But it is something that is good to know that if it is something you want to get into down the road, it's something you want to think about ahead of time. Can I do this? Can I handle this? Knowing it's going to be extreme. So I just wanted to throw that out there so nobody thinks they're going to be C-bum in 6 months.
Yeah, of course. You're not gonna. It's rough, even doing an extreme diet. Like depending on where you're at, like it's still pretty hard, and you're gonna plateau, like you said. Eventually, your body's gonna, even if you're on a crazy diet, your body's still gonna catch up to it.
I mean, even for most people, a regular diet is going to be hard, which is why I also wanted to share some information or some recommendations about if you're on a cut or a bulk, what kinds of foods you should lean towards. Again, I will preface this by saying generally you're not really going to see fruits or vegetables on the list that we're about to go over. And the reason being, they're so important to both that it doesn't matter what phase you're in. You should be eating fruits and vegetables. The only thing that's going to change is how much you're eating. The only vegetable I'll call out by name is asparagus. If you're on a cut, a lot, again, extreme, but a lot of bodybuilders eat asparagus because it's a known diuretic. So it takes away a lot of your water weight. What they call, you look drier, you look peeled, which means your skin is tighter against your muscles. So you look more shredded.
Yeah. And then also, for any people out there, fruits do not get you fat. I know people think the sugar is bad for you, but it's not. It's just a healthy sugar. It's not like a additive sugar. Or is it? It's not like a artificial sugar.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So,
and it's funny because this is another example of misinformation online. I know you said that there was a fad out there of people going online posting that like sugar or fruits are bad because there's a lot of sugar in them. But again, we already went over it's a different, more natural kind of sugar and things like that. A lot of fitness influencers and like nutrition influencers, unfortunately, use scare tactics to get you to watch their video and then mold your thoughts and beliefs around what you just heard. Like exactly. I know there's one guy out there, I saw a video recently. He said the worst way you can possibly start your day is by eating a bowl of cereal. And I'm just thinking to myself,
no, facts though.
I'm thinking to myself, I can think of 100 worse ways to start my day than eating a bowl of cereal.
Like what? Like a bowl of nails?
I mean, a bowl of nails. You could start your day by stubbing your toe.
Yeah, it's the clickbait,
Yeah, no, exactly. It's a scare tactic to say this is the worst way you can start your day by eating a bowl of cereal, and you think to yourself, "Oh shit, I eat a bowl of cereal every day.
Yeah,
I should listen to what he has to say." Mm-hmm. And then it's probably just a bunch of garbage.
Apples are bad for you. That's clickbait.
Don't listen to that.
I just said it's clickbait.
Oh, clickbait.
Yeah.
Did you click? But again, with that, I know Josh is mid-cut right now, so I think it would make sense for him to kind of give us an idea of what some good foods are to look for.
Yeah, so these foods, high in protein, and they're low in calories, pretty much. So and then Mike would get into it on the bulk kind of meats, but some of the bulk meats kind of have like fats in them, and then other like carbs too. But on a cut, you want to eat chicken, ground turkey, white fish like tilapia. That's my favorite, man. Honestly, I like tilapia.
Love it.
Yeah, egg whites, dude. Egg whites so low on calories, dude. It's kind of nuts, honestly. And then they're super high in protein. The only thing I don't like about egg whites is what I read is that the yolk actually has a lot of nutrition that your body needs, a lot of vitamins, and you're not getting that with egg whites. So next is fiber rich foods like oatmeal and tuna. And then lastly is potatoes. Potatoes are really that's what I've been eating. Potatoes have been low on calories, and then they got a good amount of carbs.
Is there any difference between regular like Yukon Gold potatoes and sweet potatoes? Because I was watching Seabum's YouTube on his Olympia prep, and his coach Hani, for whatever reason, always had him eating sweet potatoes over regular.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's a good question. So there is a little bit of a difference. Sweet potatoes have a little bit less calories, I believe, and less carbs. But the thing is like a little bit of a difference between the two. So I think the reason he has him doing that is like every little bit counts
Mhm.
as a professional. Like he's top tier, every calorie counts for him, every nutrient counts for him, and he's trying to be number one.
So that probably gets a little more, again, back into the bodybuilding as an extreme sport, and he's probably controlling more of his micronutrients as opposed to this conversation is more related to macronutrients.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. Sweet. Any other foods?
Ah, that's it.
Cool. So similar idea, just on the other side of things, like Josh talked about. Um, you want to aim for more calorically dense foods. And what that means is anything that is going to give you a higher calorie per serving, however you want to look at it. It's typically going to be foods that are either high in one specific macronutrient or they have a combination of more than one macronutrient. So that leads into my first example is going to be steak. So steak is obviously high in protein. Depending on the cut, it's going to be 25 to 30 grams of protein per serving. So that's going to be one of the highest protein intakes that you can get. And that's usually, serving size usually 4 ounces, I would say. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it's about 4 ounces for steak. I know it is for chicken. But again, it's also going to have
Can you repeat that again? Because I can kind of tell you, because like chicken, 4 ounces should be 100 calories, and then like if you have 8 ounces of chicken, that's 200 calories. And
Okay,
then,
so then
yeah,
that's 25 grams of protein per serving.
yeah, it's like 20 to 24 grams of protein on the chicken.
Okay.
Yeah, I
And then
don't know the exact number, but it's between those two, 20, 25, 4, 25. It's really high.
okay. And then I know steak depends on the kind of cut it is
Yeah.
because some cuts are going to be fattier than others, some cuts are going to be leaner than others. It's going to be high protein either way, but just make sure you know how much, like how many grams of fat per serving, depending on what cut of steak you're getting. Another one, I know Josh mentioned ground turkey on the cut. For the bulk, ground beef is going to be huge. So I was able to find ground turkey that was 99.1.
Damn.
So it was 1% fat. When I get ground beef, I typically go either 85-15 or 80-20. More 85-15 just because I personally digest
I
it a
think
little
it's
better.
hard to even see the 90-10, right? Or is it even out there? Like I know 15 is like the norm, pretty much.
90-10 is definitely out there, but you might as well just get ground turkey at that point because they do
Yeah.
93.7.
Mm-hmm. It's
So
more gonna be more expensive too.
exactly. So again, it's all based on what you're trying to do, but it's intuitive to your body. So that's why when I calculate my clients' macros, I give them a range because I know, like fat wise, someone may love peanut butter. So they're probably going to be someone who tends to go higher on that range of fat as opposed to someone who may go lower on the range of carbs, for example. But again, that's something that's going to vary person by person. So you want to give them a range instead of telling them this is what you have to hit. Um, on the other side of that, when it comes to some carbs, rice and pasta are probably going to be the biggest two when it comes to bulking. And then you want to work in healthy fats as well. So I know olive oil is going to be a big one. When I'm on a cut, I strictly use Pam because it has 0 calories. When I want to bulk, I put olive oil on everything. My Italian grandmother would be proud of me. She would say, "Maron." But again, because it's a healthy fat, it's something that your body, like I mentioned, has a baseline of fat that it needs. And if you're using healthy fats like olive oil, nuts and nut butters, avocados, for example, those are all healthy fats that you can work in that you can overdo it, obviously, even if it is a healthy fat, but it's not going to have nearly as big of an effect as like a processed food that has a lot of like saturated fats or trans fats, for example. One other yin yang for you, you mentioned the egg whites. When you're on a bulk, you want the whole eggs. This is something, obviously, be conservative with how many eggs you're eating because you still want to monitor like your cholesterol and stuff like that. But again, for me, I know my cholesterol is good. I can eat 6 to 8 eggs at a time on a daily basis and feel great. And I'm getting a ton of protein from it because I think it's 7 grams of protein per egg.
Yeah.
So that's something that I could be getting like 40 to 50 grams of protein right there just from the eggs. And that's not even counting, I put ham in it, for example. Cheese has protein in it, not much, but it does.
Yeah.
So it's all adding to it.
Dude, actually, I have like 3 whole eggs, bacon, and then just turkey too.
Yeah.
I mix like turkey, and that I'm able to eat that on a cut because I have pretty much no carbs. Except mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So fat is actually going to be the most calorie dense macronutrient. So if you keep that in mind, eating more fat is going to add more calories towards your goal. 1 gram of fat is 9 grams of calories. Carbs and protein are both 4. So 1 gram of fat is more than double what your body would intake in grams if it was a fat or a carb, or a protein or a carb. So just think about that the next time you're reaching for that bag of chips.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the only other one I had on my list for bulking food, again, very high in protein and very high in healthy fats, is going to be salmon. I fucking love seafood, so salmon is high on my list.
Dude, you know what trips me out? That people don't like seafood sometimes.
What?
Dude, that thing trips me out, honestly, when people are like, oh, I just don't like seafood. But salmon is definitely my favorite. And it's so high in fats. And this is another thing you want to be careful with because on a cut, like, I want to eat salmon, but, like, I can't really eat it because it's going to get me over because it does have a lot of calories. And so if I do eat it, I'm going to have to eat it only for lunch or maybe once for dinner, and everything else has to be super low. Maybe I have to skip a snack here and, gonna deal with it.
Yeah, and that's why for me on a cut, like I ate a lot of white fish. Like I was housing tilapia because again, I mentioned I have a fast metabolism, so I'm always hungry. So it's the kind of thing where I could have salmon and I'm just gonna make up numbers. If I could have 6 ounces of salmon or I could have 10 ounces of tilapia, that 10 ounces of tilapia was going to go further for me because I was going to get more protein out of it and I would be fuller and have less cravings throughout the day.
Well, actually, I've been tracking, everything right now, and I'm actually eating both of that. So 8 ounces of tilapia, I believe so the protein is pretty much about the same on both the fishes. I think salmon might be a little bit higher on the protein, but the calories is so way less. If you have 8 ounces of tilapia, that's 200 calories. And then if you have 8 ounces of salmon, because I have each 8 ounces, because I hit my protein goals pretty much doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have 8 ounces of salmon, it takes me almost to 500 calories because the fat's in there and everything else.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a higher calorie.
Well, that's my point exactly.
Yeah.
Is I was able to get more tilapia for the same amount of calories as less salmon.
Yeah.
So I was able to eat more as someone who eats a lot. Cutting is all mental for me.
Yeah.
I just
want to say
the
that
meal plan.
yeah. I wanted to say that just for the audience, pretty much. Just
of course.
It's like more than double than the tilapia. So, pick or choose. Anything else on that, or?
I mean, that's everything I had for the bulk itself. I did have just like a couple like general tips that I wanted to share when it comes to just like nutrition in general and different foods to look out for. So the first one, this is something that I luckily learned pretty early on in my lifting career because I've always been very interested in the nutrition side of things, partially forced because I have an allergy. But one thing I learned is, like you mentioned, potatoes are very, very calorically dense, right? So if you're on a cut, you're going to get more benefits out of potatoes. Rice is less calorically dense. So if you're on a cut, if you're on a bulk, you're going to be able to intake more rice. Like physically eat more rice, right? So that's something that if you're able to eat more rice, you're going to be able to take in more calories. And if you're on a surplus and you're taking in more calories, you're more likely to be over your calorie goal and actually hit that surplus and start to consistently put on that weight. Where if you're eating potatoes, you're going to be more satiated, which is going to help you fight those cravings throughout the day because you're going to be fuller. You're not even going to have those cravings in the first place, and you're going to be able to stick to your cut and stick to your diet a lot stricter.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. If you're on a cut, you want to feel full, so you're not overeating at all. So I definitely agree with what you said there.
Yeah, because the idle mind will wander to bad places and your intrusive thoughts will take over. And they usually win when you get to that point.
Dude, definitely, man. Like, you're bound to have a few cheat meals here and there. That's the hard thing about cutting, because it's like an addiction to some people. And the hard thing is you have to eat to survive. So, and so it's hard to kind of, because you relapse, after a while. So it's just, you kind of have to have a healthy balance.
Exactly. And that's, again, part of the idea of we want this to be sustainable to avoid any relapse, any plateaus, things like that. The next one, couple superfoods that I want to point out, and these are, again, going to be good for both the bulk and the cut. So the first one is going to be blueberries. So this is something, there's a lot of studies that blueberries have a lot of natural sugars in them. They also have a lot of antioxidants, which have their own benefits. But these natural sugars are going to help you not have, like, if you have a sweet tooth, like eating a lot of fruit, a lot of blueberries specifically, is going to help you actively fight that sweet tooth craving, because you're going to be satiating yourself with these blueberries and you're going to be satisfying that sweetness craving by getting the natural sugar in blueberries. And then I know the other superfood, this is one Josh told me about, so I'll let you get into it.
It's the kiwis, man. They got a lot of vitamins in them. They got carbs, a little bit of protein, and they make you actually feel full. Also, like, you can eat. Dude, I've eaten like 3, and I feel good for the day. It's like a whole, kind of almost a whole meal, to be honest. But yeah, kiwis are like the best fruit out there that you can possibly buy, hands down. And it's got the most nutrients between everything. The only nutrient it loses in is potassium, because bananas have more potassium in them. So, which is like crazy, because it's supposed to be, that's what bananas are known for, the potassium. But kiwi almost beats it, which is insane. That's why it's a superfruit.
Monkey never cramp.
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, superfoods will only go as far as you take them. So this isn't like I don't know what the word I'm looking for. This isn't like the cure all. You know what I mean? You're not gonna like eat kiwis and then all of a sudden be C-bum in 6 months.
Oh yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So it's just something that you want to work into your diet. It's not something that is going to overtake your diet. Um, and then the last thing, before we get into the next section, this is something that personally I feel like this is more relevant to a cut, but I can see how it would be relevant to a bulk as well. This is more relevant to helping you hit your protein goal. And the reason I say a bulk is because you probably have a pretty high protein goal. You always want to start out when you're eating, right? You look at your plate, you have your protein, you have your starch, and you have your vegetable. You always want to eat the protein on the plate first because, like we talked about, protein is going to be the most important macronutrient, especially for newer gym goers. So that's something that's going to help you make sure you get all the protein you need, but you'll also get that satiated feeling. So if you are on a cut, you're gonna probably maybe have room for like the starch and the vegetables, like the rice or the potatoes, but then it's gonna help you curve those cravings throughout the course of the day because you ate all that protein, you're satiated, you're full. You're not gonna need that snack between breakfast and lunch to get you through.
Yep. And this goes back to what we were saying. Protein is the most important nutrient you need first. Everything else comes last.
100%.
Yeah.
Any other tips or tricks you got, Josh?
Man, honestly,
We shared some sauce.
yeah, we share some sauce. If you guys want more sauce, you gotta DM either one of us. You know, I got the keto sauce. You know, fat loss sauce. Mike's got his own sauce.
I got that
Yeah.
that weight loss, that body recomp, that strength, whatever you need.
Yeah, yeah.
But with that, I'll
Should we
kick it
get-
over to Josh because I know our next section is
The sick count of the week, man. Let's go.
we're all gonna make it, brah. That's it.
Yeah. So the sick cunt of the week here is a legend in the fitness industry. Joey Swole.
A fucking legend.
Mm-hmm. The reason why he's the sick cunt of the week is his post never dies. I'm honestly surprised because most people when they start like a trend or like not even a trend but like a segment, I guess. Dude, he's gone for like 2 years, bro. Like
Well,
nonstop.
He entered a market that's never gonna saturate because his entire premise of his posts is people doing stupid shit,
Yeah.
and people are never gonna stop doing stupid shit.
Well, the premise too is other people recording them doing stupid shit too. That's another thing, and it's a little crazy how it hasn't like slowed down even a bit. Like he has like content to just keep going and going, and but you know there is some change. Like this week, the thing that kind of sparked it was there was a gym that started having more rules about recording and stuff like that. But I mean, personally, I like to record. I know Mike here loves to record, so like, I'm glad we're not going to that gym. You know?
Yeah, that was crazy when that was the post I sent to you, right?
Yeah.
So essentially it said you can't have like your tripod and your camera in the way of other members.
Mm-hmm.
If someone is going to be in the background of your shot, you have to ask them for consent to film them. It was like a bunch of like super
You
crazy.
can't record when it's busy, and that was kind of vague because like, how do you know it's like busy?
Yeah, I feel like that's something you could easily.
I mean,
I don't think it's that busy.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, like 5 o'clock prime time, it's gonna be busy. You know,
Yeah.
5 p.m. These afternoon shifts are gonna be busy. But yeah, it's like okay, what's busy? And then no recording. I think in the locker rooms and stuff like that.
Well, the rule didn't say anything about the locker rooms, but I did see someone comment saying that if you get caught filming in the locker room at all, you just like immediately get your membership revoked or something like that. So it's so aggressive. But like some of it makes sense, but at the same time, it's just like
that
one
gym
of those
probably had
things
some problems in the past where it had to make those rules, most likely, because I don't think rules need to be really made until something happens, you know. So, if you want to record, go to your own, like a private gym, like me and Mike have been going to. We've been going to Zoo Culture, which is more, film friendly.
Yeah, and so like I was
You get
recently in
permission to do
San
whatever you
Diego.
want.
I was recently in San Diego, and I was talking to a gentleman at the gym I was at there, and it was a powerlifting gym. A lot of powerlifters will film their set and send it to their coach or post it or both. And the guy said to me, he was like, "Oh, this gym is turning into like Tripod Central." And like I was literally thinking to myself, I was like, "Bro, like this is a private gym. Like people pay more to come here like for the privilege of being able to like make content with not as many people around because they can do like stupider shit like we saw this morning."
Yeah,
And be able to make that like crazy content that like they wouldn't be able to at a crowded commercial gym.
yeah. And then at that point, if you're at a private gym, you honestly probably just need your own gym. And if you're doing powerlifting, it's not too hard to get your own equipment at home because you only need what 3 things: a platform, a squat rack, and then a bench. So
Yeah, I mean,
you
I feel like it's probably more a barrier of entry of like not even cost,
entry
probably more
level,
just
yeah.
like having the space to do it
True, true, true.
because like not as excuse me, not as many people like own homes today.
But it's still possible just doing your. If you have space in like an apartment, you could possibly do it. People were doing it during COVID, so it's not impossible still.
For sure.
Yeah, it's just if you have the space, you need some kind of space.
Gotcha. Anything else on Joey Swole?
Dude, this Joey Stoll, he kind of just needs to keep going, dude. He's the Batman we did, we never knew we needed.
Not the hero we need, the hero we deserve.
Yeah, exactly.
I never got a chance to thank you.
And
And you never will. Awesome. Well, with that, we're going to wrap it up here. So, thanks as always for tuning in. As you know, we're going to be dropping new episodes every Thursday morning, pending technical difficulties. It's going to be on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. So, make sure to like, comment, follow, subscribe. However, you're watching or listening today, of course, we appreciate your support. I'm Mike.
I'm Josh.
Let's make sure to get those sweet gains. Keep living life unracked, baby. Let's go.